Hello my friends, this is Jose from LuoVita. Welcome to another episode, how to stay away from this trap of self-sabotage. So if we want to stay away from this trap of self-sabotage, we must learn how to deal with negative feelings without turning to negative behaviors. So we are going to through some ideas like identifying your triggers, reframing your thoughts, work on your emotional tolerance, take inventory of your values and embrace your self-sabotaging behaviors. That's really important and powerful. So first thing, identify your triggers. The first step is staying away from self-sabotage. And this means knowing or being aware of our triggers. And a trigger can be anything like that causes us to feel overwhelming or negative emotion. It might be a certain memory, an uncomfortable topic, or even someone's words or actions. It could also be a certain behavior you engage in that, for example, that goes against our goals or values. And for example, if you are trying to be more active but end up skipping gym classes or going out late with friends instead, you might have some triggers, some responses that make you feel or behave against your health goals. Let's say it like this. So if you're able to identify your triggers, it's important to recognize that they are not necessarily your fault. Self-sabotage is usually the result of our unconscious or implicit way of thinking, and it's sometimes not really easy, or most of the time it's not easy to change. These patterns are based, for example, on our family or friends' expectations or trauma history or other experiences that have shaped our person, our emotional tolerances. So self-sabotage often happens in a form of subconscious patterns, and that have become really anchored in ourselves, despite our best efforts sometimes to change them. So if you find yourself constantly failing to or underperforming in some area in your life, it's time, for example, to consider seeking really help. Like I did it also, help from a therapist and support, even from family, friends, but you don't fight alone against this, This is one of the most common mistakes people make when trying to overcome their triggers and their self-sabotage is being tough on themselves, and this comes against us, and actually reinforces this negative thinking, like this spiral. The key is to break the cycle of self-sabotage and identifying also what we need to avoid in these behaviors. So once you understand this, you can then work on finding another healthier way to meet, everything you need to achieve. So how do we start with this? Reframing your thoughts, for example. I know we have a hard time dealing with uncertainty and change, but our brain goes, for example, in overdrive sometimes when we are faced with new challenges, and this defense response triggers in, this can cause a lot of anxiety. I know that. I know I experienced this, and this leads to self-sabotage in the form of this self-destructive behavior sometimes. So if you're nervous, for example, about your job or interview or taking a class, or you find yourself procrastinating, it's just something to avoid something. And these behaviors, sometimes they seem even irrational, but they're just a way to manage your emotions and avoid discomfort. So often self-sabotage is this way to protect ourselves from painful feelings and rejections, failure and loneliness also. So getting to know yourself and these tendencies you have will help you to stop these patterns at the origin. So that means spending time in self-reflection is a very good way to start this. For example, having also, as I said, supportive people around you and increasing your awareness. It's an important step in breaking these patterns, these beliefs. And so practice reframing it's a very effective way to do this. That means we break these negative cycles of stress and anxiety and even depression. So reframing involves replacing these automatic thoughts. They're also known as cognitive distortions. That means the way we reframe everything, and with more balanced and healthy ones. Common thoughts that get people stuck include everything or nothing. I mean, putting things in black and white, and discounting these positive experiences, just avoiding them. That's another way to do this. That means we must work on our emotional tolerance. So often self-sabotage comes also from these negative ways we deal with painful emotions, and it's a way to avoid and delay discomfort also, like buying a gym membership and never using it, so procrastinating on projects or avoiding relationships that aren't good enough. So if you have this disorganized attachment style and struggle with trusting others and repress your fear and rejection or abandonment, self-sabotaging behaviors may also come from this lack of stability that we have in our life sometimes, or history of trauma. And so healthy emotional tolerance will help us to stop the cycle of self-sabotaging these behaviors and achieve our goals. So practicing mindfulness can allow us to experience this process, our feelings, instead of pushing them away or trying to suppress them. So we never should do that. They are there for a reason. You can practice nothing. And noticing also when your thoughts are negative and challenging. So then finding for a balanced way, a healthy way to deal with this. This might, for example, be taking this deep breath that I sometimes forget to do. So try to just stop, take deep breath, and identifying your current status, your mood, and revealing your positive emotion. And then practicing these strategies like visualizing, relaxing, counting to 10, stopping. Another helpful technique is learning to appreciate your successes. Sometimes we just forget about this, it's just natural that we achieve something, but this will increase our confidence. This will encourage us to continue to take the small steps for changing problematic ways or behaviors that we have. So having this support system, as I said before, like professional therapy, are really important. It's a big resources if we are just trying to get out of this old behaviors, this really anchored behaviors that are really in us, that's difficult to break, So as I said, this could be difficult to break somehow, these patterns that we have, especially when they're in place for a long time. This is why really it's important to spend time to reflect on your values and what you want from life. I know it's not easy, but this helps you to identify these self-sabotaging behaviors that are often in opposition with our values. We don't even notice that, So find out your values. For example, if you look for these triggers that leads you to this self-sabotaging, behaviors, keep them on track. That means you can write them down on a piece of paper or in an app or phone or folder, something on a computer. To be aware of these behaviors will make you grow. That means you can to figure out then where you need to start from. For example, if you're trying to improve your health by exercising and eating better, but you're always sabotaging your process by going out for drinks at night or something like that, then it doesn't serve you anymore, right? So once you figured out what the negative behaviors are, the thoughts and feelings and what you're struggling with, you can then start figuring out ways to stop them. And it's important to get help from friends, from people that are around you, that you trust, therapists also, to make these changes. Another way to deal with your self-sabotaging behaviors is to accept them for what they are. It's our natural way, our brain's way, our natural way of protecting us from emotional pain sometimes. And mostly it's that. Your behaviors are, or our behaviors are based on our experience from the past, from our childhood or our past relationships. For example, if you want to quit your job, always when something before an interview with the boss or responsible, perhaps this is linked back to a past pattern that you learned that these relationships are painful or something. It's not your fault or having this relationship. We have a choice to change this. The next time that we are, for example, we want to quit something just because we feel that we never make it or something, or it's going to overwhelm us, just remember. And it's something that's worth dealing with, fighting for. So embrace this self-sabotaging behaviors. So sometimes, as I said, it's like we do it on purpose to hurt us, right? But it's more a mechanism to protect us. So if you are afraid, for example, of rejection or failure, for example, or avoiding the risk of these experiences by not trying, so it seems this is the best way to do it, right? But the problem is that it also prevents you from this experience of success and happiness. So the key is to learn to recognize the self-sabotaging behaviors that we engage in, all the time, and then replace them with more productive actions. So often these are old patterns that served us in the past in one context. For example, dealing with something difficult in childhood or some toxic relationship, but this no longer supports our current needs. So if you're not sure what your triggers are, it may be able to start tracking them down, as I said, in a journal and through this mindfulness practice. That means this is some being aware and not judging something, your thoughts or behaviors. If you find that, for example, you are regularly procrastinating or putting off tasks that needs to be done by a specific deadline, you might notice that you want to procrastinate and it comes and it feels like overwhelming, or this anxiety. So to overcome this, you can try to replacing this to a different response when you experience those feelings. For example, taking deep breath and expressing yourself more calmly through statements, for example. You can then work and change this negative self-talk that you have with yourself. For example, you make comments or these statements to yourself. Focus on your values and reminding yourself of what you already accomplished. That's something you need to be really proud of, right? So I hope this was really helpful to you, as it was for me. And thank you for being there, that you are also perhaps struggling with this, and this will help you go through all this challenges, right? So check out the description. You can subscribe to our blog. Once a week I send out a newsletter with some thought patterns and something that really helped me also to figure out what we want out of life and see opportunities. It's really, really powerful. So check it out, let me know, and also subscribe to the channel if you want. And again, thank you and courage, and until next time, take care.